these accidents that happen following the dust. Coincidence makes sense only with you. You don't have to speak, I feel emotional landscapes. They bother me, but the riddle gets solved, and you push me up to the state of emergency. How beautiful to be state of emergency. How beautiful to be. All that no one sees, you see what's inside of me. Every nerve that hurts, you feel. You don't have to speak, I feel emotional landscapes. They puzzle me. And the riddle gets solved, and you push me up to the state of emergency. How beautiful the state of the emergency. How beautiful to be state of the emergency. How beautiful to be. All these accidents that happen following the dots. Coincidence makes sense only with you. You don't have to speak, I feel emotional landscapes. They puzzle me, but the riddle gets solved, and you push me up to the state of emergency. How beautiful to be still the emergency. How beautiful to be state of emergency. How beautiful to be. Good morning, Walter Parks. Coming to you with a squeaky seat. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but there's all this stuff going around that I think I have to respond to, but sometimes we feel the need to respond to this metaphorical squeaky seat in our lives, and we don't need to because nobody else can hear that squeaky seat. And there's a lot of squeaky seats out there. I never wanted to be a squeaky seat, but I have realized in retrospect, thinking about my life and adjusting my music and my sense of artistry, that I have been a squeaky seat. I've pushed way too hard in business and artistically. The most important thing I want to talk about is that sense of trying to be bigger than you are, you know. And the COVID has helped me with that. It sort of relaxed me and said, you know, I am just one guitar here, and how can I use this one guitar and the voice to communicate? The guitar doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be bigger than life. It just has to be well done. And it gets to be well done by me putting a little time into it. To that note, I will say that I want to give credit to my wife, Margot. She works the sound, and she does make it as close to bigger than life as possible. But bigger than life is one of those things that we have to be careful about, because I run into this concept in the folk world a lot. Everybody just wants the guitar to be natural and you know, no effects, sort of just a very uncomplicated setup situation. But the fact is that the guitarist, me in this case, if I have an acoustic guitar in my lap, that guitar is reverberating through my whole body, and it does feel bigger than life. It feels like a beautiful earthquake. So my point is, when folks with this aesthetic to keep everything just simple come along and say, no, we want you to take away that bigger than life feeling, they're actually diminishing the experience. They're making it less than natural, because I want to give the audience as big of an experience as I feel when I have this guitar in my hand. And I would make that akin to the photography of Ansel Adams. You know, when you see those wonderful gray landscapes with those supernatural skies, a photographer will go, well, that's just this darkroom technique with a lot of contrast and X, Y, and Z. But when you're out in the desert looking at those mountains, you feel what Ansel Adams has portrayed. My point is, the best artists do not just document nature. They try to impart the feeling and the grandeur of it. And I say best artists because I'm talking about those that are not fooled by the concept that you have to have no technique and everything has to be just completely simple. The feeling and the transmission, the connection has to be simple. That's basic, that's primitive. But the way you get there, a poet, for instance, would not say, I'm in love. There we go. I'm in love. Because they're trying to impart that wonderful feeling, that exuberance, that passion that they have. So I discovered this, or I didn't discover it. I became reoriented with this concept of not pushing. This week when I played with a wonderful trombonist in St. Louis named Alan Ferber. He's actually from the New York area. But I met him here in St. Louis, and, you know, we're just two guys, a guitar player and a trombone player and my voice. And I just told myself, it's like, let this just be what it is. And it was one of the most enjoyable gigs that I've ever done. I did it yesterday at a record store in St. Louis called Euclid Records. And the people really got it. the people listening, there were about 100 people there, 75 or so. And, I love St. Louis. There are things that I don't like about St. Louis, but it's mostly, oddly, the natural things. I can't stand the allergenic, ingredients here. But the people, it's a great music town, and people appreciate good musicianship. They appreciate the craft of it, and I'm happy to be here for that reason. Let me continue with another song, and that was a song I decided to do last night at the final hour. I actually hadn't decided to do it until about 30 minutes before. I played it before with a colleague in New York, Larry Heineman, who co-formed the Blue Man Group, and it was a song by Bjork, and it's a tricky little song, and I want to do it with Alan, so I decided to take my chances with it. I think I did okay. You don't hear that every day, especially solo. Charlie, hello. Broadway Steve, you got that picking down. Cool. Taos is, James Navi's in Taos. I love speaking to the folks out in New Mexico. It's one of the touchstones for me. So. I'm going to play a kind of a rock and roll hymn for you. Angel came down from heaven yesterday. She stayed with me long enough to rescue me. And she told me the story yesterday about the sweet love between the moon and the deep blue sea. Then she spread her wings high over me. She said she's coming back tomorrow. She said, "Love, my sweet angel, fly through the sky." I said, "Fly on, my sweet angel. Tomorrow I'm gonna be by your side." Sure enough, that morning came to me, silver wings silhouetted against the child's sunrise. And that angel, she said unto me, "Today is the day of that you're gonna ride. Take my hand, you're gonna be my man, you're gonna ride. And then she flew high over yonder. I said, flow, my sweet angel. Flow through the sky. Flow, my sweet angel. Tomorrow I'm gonna be by your side. Oh, flow, my sweet angel. Flow through the sky. Oh, fly on my sweet angel. Forever I'm gonna be by your side. Tomorrow I'm gonna be by your side. Very pretty song by Jimi Hendrix. You know, the first time I ever heard that song, it was a version that Rod Stewart did. That's how behind the eight ball I was on Jimi Hendrix. I just thought of him as this crazy black hippie. I wasn't, at that point in my life, I wasn't allowed to really appreciate anything that black folk did except for maybe sports, that kind of thing. I don't say, and when I say allowed, it wasn't a family pronouncement or something that was written on the blackboard. It was just sort of culturally ingrained. It's like, it was, I just was, it just wasn't in my world, in my sphere, to appreciate the works of, the artistic works of black folk. And then I saw Richie Havens, and I saw him in 1970, of course, when the movie came out for Woodstock. And then I saw Jimi Hendrix because I saw Richie Havens. And I thought, who are these guys? They are talking to me. And then I saw J-Mo play with the Allman Brothers, a black drummer with an otherwise white, completely white band. I thought, what is going on? And then I heard Aretha Franklin, and then I heard the Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose, and then I heard Al Green in 1971, and the Stylistics, and Stevie Wonder, and I thought, oh, geez. All the music I really want to listen to is being put out by black folk. So all of this just confused me. And I sorted it out by just grabbing the guitar. But I still didn't really dig into and start studying the music that came from the black story, if you will, until much later. But so I'm going to play one that's kind of a combination of Richie Havens' world and the spirituals. This is what they call a code song. It's one that I love to play. I don't play it very much. It's called "Follow the Drinking Gourd." Richie played it in the early part of his career, but not with me. And it is a song. Musical historians say that it's possibly set or came from the southeastern Mississippi, southwestern Alabama area, where Mobile bay drains the Alabama River from Alabama and the Tom Bigby River, which at that point is in Alabama because of Mobile, but it basically for the most of the river's life, if you will, it goes through Mississippi all the way up. It emanates in the hills, really close to the Tennessee River, and if a slave could walk, if an escaped slave could walk along the banks of the Tom Bigby all the way to the the Tennessee River, they could keep walking north up the Tennessee River, or pretty much just northwest, and meet the Ohio River in Paducah, Kentucky, and cross it in the wintertime when the river was frozen over, and there you are in Illinois. Not that that was super easy to do. They had to leave a whole year in advance to walk up that bank. But I went to the bank of the Tom Bigby. I have gone to the bank of the Tom Bigby in my musical research, and just on one hand, it's a little bit of a ridiculous experience. Here it is, 2022. I'm a white man. I pull my rental car up to where I can get to the river. I walk down, but I'm doing what I can do. And I'll tell you, when you're out there by yourself and you're just walking through the woods, and the river kind of opens the curtains to itself out of nowhere, and you look down those limestone cliffs onto it, and there's nobody else around. There are no houses. You're in the middle of nowhere. I might as well be in, 1840 or something. And it's spooky. It's scary. There's a feeling there that just grabs you. And that's the kind of thing I do in my research. I just go to where this stuff came from. And I'll tell you about a little bit more of that in a second, but let me set this one up. Yeah, I think I'll just do it just like this. When the sun goes back and the first quail calls, follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Well, the riverbed makes a mighty fine road. Dead trees will show you the way. Take the left foot, peg foot, travel it on. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Woo! Well, the river ends between two hills. Follow the drinking gourd. There's another river on the other side of that hill. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow, 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 follow the drinking gourd. Follow, follow, follow the drinking gourd. Follow, follow, follow the drinking gourd. Oh, follow, follow, follow the drinking gourd. Ken, I would agree with you. Music sees no color. Feeling certainly sees no color. Some people feel differently than others, but it's not because of their color, their skin. It's just because of circumstances, and that's why I've come to the conclusion, at least for me, that it's all right for me to be playing this music because. We can all be in these situations. You just never know when everything's going to be upturned and you're going to be en route to another country or something for refuge. Look what's going on in Ukraine, and we know about Ukraine because it's all European and everything, but it's just been going on in the Sudan for years, and the Janjaweeds and all of that stuff, and it's just a terrible situation there. And it seems that we pay attention to these struggles when resources, natural resources, exploitable resources are involved. But paying attention to feeling is what we do as artists, and it is not the realm of color. And I really, really object to people saying, stay away from this music. Not that they do. I have gotten no pushback from it, but I know there are sensitive issues of appropriation and so on these days. And I do think about it so much. I study the issue. I try to give utmost respect to these forms, and constantly grilling myself, should I be doing this? And in the meanwhile, I just continue. Very, very interesting news this week. Stan Lynch, a mentor of mine, with whom I wrote Shoulder It on my most recent record with the Unlawful Assembly, which that last song is also on. Stan Lynch, the original drummer with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, is going to be touring with Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs. You He's going to be playing drums with Mike Campbell, who was, of course, Tom Petty's right-hand man for all those years. And I am so excited. I've been trying or urging Stan to get out and play drums again with me. And I even tried to set him up with some other famous people to whom he would surely not refuse, but he refused, and he just felt like this was the right time, and he's such a great drummer, and he's still playing great, and he's a wonderful mentor. And why not? I should do the song that we wrote together. This is one called "Shoulder It." I didn't write it on this guitar, but who cares? I love this guitar. Let me get a little tremolo for you. My mother likes this song, so this one goes out to my mother. I think I'll get a little delay for you too. Yeah, no delay. I know I hurt you such a long way back. Some people keep pushing on that. Well, you came on the mercy train because you laid the track when you shouldered it. When you shouldered it. When you shouldered it, when you shouldered it, everybody knows we need a change of heart. But what's it gonna take to open our eyes before we push the load across your pressure line? We better shoulder it. We better shoulder it. We better shoulder it. We shall overcome. But that's me to me. Everybody needs somebody to blame. Do we go and load our gun because of freedom to give us the reason to? Who am I to see who is down and out until I had to live a life like that? And who am I to tell you to get over it until I've shouldered it, until I've shouldered it, until I've shouldered it. Oh. that song that I co-wrote with Stan Lynch. And the way we did the writing is I brought in this old Stratocaster that I had purchased about a year before from a buddy, also in the Gainesville area, and he made me promise that I'd try to do meaningful work on the guitar, not with a screwdriver and tools, that kind of thing, but write meaningful music. And that was the first song that guitar gave me. I was just sitting in Stan's house, and it just kind of came to me, that little riff, and it's just a little Hendrixy kind of thing. All in the key of E, but I never quite played an E like that before, and it just fell out of me. And that's what you want in a musical instrument. That's what you want in an easel. That's what you want in a dance floor or a setting. That's what you want with a camera. That's what you want with an amplifier. You want something that helps you a little bit. We are all addicted to hard work. Most of us are. We grow up with that sort of adage that everything that's worthwhile needs to be hard. But there are some things that I think sometimes maybe the finest things in life, the most important things, just kind of come to us and fall to us. The trick is knowing when they're there and not walking away from them just because they're easy. I'm not saying that everything should be easy, and I am by no means saying that you can play the guitar as good as I can, for instance, by just picking it up and it's just going to come out. It's a lot of hard work to get to this level. And I don't say that egotistically. I'm trying to make a point that you have to reach a certain level through hard work before you can almost have that confidence to let instincts and the artistic godliness of the moment kind of take over and really pilot you. And so this song just kind of flowed out of me. And it was sort of similar with my wife Margot. You know, we just got along so easy. And it was, at first I was like, oh, this is just too good to be true. She's not, relationship shouldn't be this way. And then the light went off. It's like, no, this is exactly how they should be. And we're just taught to push and push and push and push. And also that's what I'm really wondering about this, or loving about this part of my career. I'm just allowing myself to be a guy with a guitar, and I'm trying to just keep it simple. I'm enjoying just kind of plugging into an amplifier with minimal effects. And you know, I used to carry around chandeliers and Spanish moss with me and all of this stuff to try to make the experience bigger than life. And that's okay. But the problem is I had nothing left by the time I got up on stage. I was too busy setting all that stuff up or telling somebody how to set it up. Make sure that it was just so, because it was just me as the artistic director on these tours. I wanted every venue, every experience to be bigger than it deserved to be, in a sense. Didn't matter if I played in a coffee house or whatever, but I just burned myself out. And I'm just now getting to the point where I want to start touring a little bit more again, but I'm doing it in a simple way. Kind of getting back to the roots, and these are my roots, just this guitar and my voice. And it's wonderful. It feels good. But I'm going to be saying no to a lot of things coming up. If I see the BS coming down the pike, and I have a good BS-ometer, I have a really good one at this point. You know, if I feel the BS coming down the pike, or just a lot of work that I just don't want to be, that I really don't want to do, I'm going to say no. And so anyway, Broadway Steve says, great crunch today. In Nashville, we call that hair, you know. Let me geek out and tell you what I'm doing differently today. I'm not using any acoustic stuff. I'm not playing direct. And even though I normally play an electric guitar, or when I play electric, actually when I play anything, normally I just run a direct signal, The PA person can fill it out. But right now, Margot's just micing two amplifiers. I hardly ever use two amps, but I've just got an old Supro from 1949 or 1950 or something. It's a lap steel amplifier. It's called Model 1606. Check them out online. It's one of the best sounding amplifiers. They're pretty easy to come by. They're around $600 or so. But they're not a live amplifier. Don't take it out to any concert. It's a studio amp. Or you can do a house concert with it. But I played this once at a festival in New Jersey with Richie. I was so in love with this little amplifier. I took it to that, and it was just horrible. It had no grandeur, and it could work if the PA guy understood what I was trying to do, but it just, the stars have to align with a little bitty amplifier. And then my meat and potatoes today is a 1964 Princeton that I've been using the last couple of weeks. And it's a Princeton. I specifically said Princeton, not Princeton Reverb. Here's my gospel of the day. For a lot of people want to know what the meaning of life is. I'll tell you that in a minute. But the gospel of today is, if you want the best sounding Fender amplifiers, don't get the ones that have reverb. The best sounding ones are the Princetons and the Deluxes. I mean, if you like the Deluxe reverb and the Princeton reverb series, use an external reverb. Yes, the spring reverbs sound good, but it's what you'll gain in just that simple circuitry of the Princeton or the Deluxe is far and above. It just far excels the reverb being put into that circuitry, because it does something to the circuitry, and it's a clarity and a depth that's not there in the Deluxe reverb and the Princeton reverb. That's the gospel for today. Now, the meaning of life. I'll get to that. Let me have a sip of coffee. The meaning of life is simply life. That's it. You can read all you want, but I believe the meaning of life, the essence of life, the function of it is to give life. Margot and I pretty much decided not to have children. A lot of people do, but we have children in other ways. We promote concerts, we present events, we try to bring people together for cultural activities. And I play guitar and get in the car and drive around and tour and write songs, and that's bringing life. So, what was that? Oh, we didn't give our dogs life, but we certainly prolonged it. I think they would have long been in the by and by. But we love dogs, and my heart goes out to anybody who has to lose a dog, because it's just the worst feeling that gnaws at you for about a week, and then you get tired of the morning, and then you move on. But okay, I'm gonna play maybe one or two more songs. I don't quite know what I'm gonna do yet. I have an idea. I haven't played this one in a while, and this is kind of like church for me in a certain way. The show's called Hymns and Hollers, and I do appreciate your support. If y'all can reach into the offering, into your wallets or your bitcoins, and send me just one bitcoin will be fine. If you just send me one bitcoin, I will be delighted. It's just one coin. If you just think about it like that, just go online, just say, I'd like to purchase one Bitcoin, and send it to Walter Parks, and Margot can put up the address. It'll be a fantastic artistic art furthering gesture. And it's really simple. You can do it electronically. But if you don't want to send me just one Bitcoin, there are other ways. You can PayPal whatever you want. And think of it like in church when they're passing around the offering plate. It's Sunday morning with me. it it helps to keep this music thing rolling and keep it going, because it's either you help me or I take a job working for a bank as an accountant. It's going to be that simple. It's one or the other. I mean, it's just every week I'm on the precipice of going to work for a bank. Can you imagine me going into a bank looking the way I do and saying, look, the people who follow the hymns and hollers, that would go over really well. Hymns and hollers. I have this little show called Hymns and Hollers, and I haven't been making enough in offerings from it, so I'd like to work for your bank here. I would find that funny, but let me think. Oh yeah, I came up with a song and I kept talking per usual. Hold on a second. Let me give you some delay. Too long. Part of the reason I use these delays is they help me to play in time. You know, they help me to. It's like having a drummer, you know, and it gives me something to settle into and rest into. And I don't like rushing or dragging, and I hate it when musicians do that to me. But that's a nice function of a delay. Here's one that I describe as church, because when I'm traveling, and you can see that, my father taught me when to look for a water tower in town. So when you're traveling and you're coming up on a little town in Georgia or Alabama and you see a water tower or a church steeple, you know you're getting close to the center of town. And my father taught me that because we would go out taking pictures of trains. He was a railroad buff, and we would just, you know, for a railroad enthusiast, all the action takes place in the middle of nowhere. And you don't follow maps at all. You'd follow the railroad tracks. And my father had a feel for where the railroad yards would be. That's where where the one track splits into a sort of a finger of sometimes up to 10 rails, so they can all be together and all be maintained. And they rejoin onto one piece of rail, all done through switching. But these are where the maintenance yards are, and where they sort of unload trains and load them and that kind of thing. And my father just loved that. I was dreadfully bored by it. But he did teach me a sense of orientation. We never used maps, and we would be in the middle of Mississippi, middle of Georgia, middle of Alabama. And so I would always see those Rocky Mountains in the distance, or a church steeple coming onto a town, and think of my father, as I still do. This is one called Conestoga, and I wrote it wondering what it must have been like for the pioneers, knowing the Rocky Mountains were there to the west of them, knowing that they were a force that they had to reckon with, and that many in the party would probably perish because of those mountains. But there was a certain threatening beauty to them as they took control of the horizon. truth is found to be lies, and all the joy within you dies. Don't you want somebody's love? Don't you need somebody's love? Wouldn't you love somebody's love? You better find somebody to love. When the morning flowers, they're all dead. Your friends treat you like a guest. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Your eyes, your eyes, your eyes, it may look like his, but they don't know where it is. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Don't you love somebody to love? Wouldn't you need somebody to love? Won't you want somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Somebody to Love, coming out of my song Conestoga. Somebody to Love, of course, was a Jefferson Airplane, I think written in 67 or so. Just kind of in a Woodstocky mood. I'm going to be playing, I think again in St. Louis, a special Woodstock show. I love doing the Woodstock shows. It's just, you know, playing The Who and Joan Baez tunes and Grateful Dead tunes and Richie Havens tunes, and Santana's a little tough to do on solo guitar, but all those groups, they're fun to tribute. And so maybe if you like to take a trip to St. Louis, you can see me play. Maybe we'll do it with Alan Ferber. Maybe I'll do it to solo. Maybe with Jody Redditch Ferber on cello. Not sure. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. I've just been in a mood to just really, really keep the music simple. No fancy stuff. And I think that's where we need to be to orient ourselves to wanting to make art and wanting to stay in art. You know, we use the expression preaching to the choir. I think most of the time when I do my preaching, I'm preaching to myself. I'm the choir, you know. So I'm sharing with you guys what I'm going through, or the artist that I want to be. And I know we all go through that. That's why I think it's okay for us to, no matter if we're Asian, Jewish, or Hindi, Muslim, just white Protestants, whatever. Of course, black folk, it's okay to listen and play the spirituals, because we all get ourselves in those situations where we need to follow that drinking gourd. The drinking gourd mean the metaphor for the North Star. Where are we? Who are we? How do we orient ourselves? This river's curving back around on itself. I'm supposed to be going north, but the river's going south. Which way am I headed? What's my North Star? What's my Polaris, you know? We all follow the drinking gourd, or we all know we need to follow it. So there's some degree of form in being an artist. And there's some, in the case of the Runaway Slave, the form is, as the song says, you stay near the riverbed. Where's the riverbed? You start seeing the trees laying everywhere, you know, just out in the middle of a field. You know that there's been some flooding there. You're getting close to the riverbed. Just keep walking. Another form in those days was you would see a footprint in a hole in the ground. A footprint in a hole. What the hell is this? The guide that would meet you was a peg leg gentleman. He had some amputation or something, and that's the way the folklore is, though, and. So that was a North Star, and of course the actual North Star. But you can't always find that North Star. Sometimes the nights are cloudy. I hope you've enjoyed the show today, Charlie, all the Stevens who listen, Ken Small, Nave. Kristen sometimes tunes in from Charleston. Jackie? Oh, wow. Well, you know, it's good. I feel like this is a little bit of church or family. I'm not really a Christian per se. I mean, I have trouble believing that Jesus is everybody's Savior. What happened before Jesus? Is everybody just not saved? Or had, did the concept of salvation just start 2,000 years ago? I don't know. That really bothers me. But I do believe that Jesus walked the earth and he was a man to be emulated. I will not emulate his dress code. I don't like Roman sandals, and I don't like robes. My wife tries to get me to walk around like that because of this beard. She says, look, the more like Jesus you look, the better. I refuse. But anyway, I won't do it. But I will be with you, I think, next week. Am I in town next week? Or wait a minute, I'm in New York, aren't I? No, you're in town. One more week coming up here, and then I go to New York again. But let me just say, let me talk about my shows coming up. I'm playing May 25th, I believe, in Jersey City. Is that Jersey City? May 26th at Jersey City at the Fox and the Crow with Rob Curto. We're going to be playing Swamp-Appalachian music. May 19th in the Philadelphia area near Lansdowne Folk Club. May 19th. Haven't played Philly in ages. And then May 23rd, I believe, I'm in Boston at the Burren. In the back room of the Burren with Rob Curto. All three of those shows are with Rob Curto. Check me out online. I've got a new video coming out in a couple of days of me playing in an old church in Mississippi. A year ago, I toured down there and went to various churches with my mother-in-law, and the video's almost out. So look for that. I appreciate you joining me, and I'm just going to noodle. And Margot's going to fade me out. She's going to fade as I noodle.